Highlights from the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally Round 3 of the 2013 South African Rally Championship is presented by Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford and Sasol. It's a battle against the elements, a battle against one another, and most importantly, a battle against the stopwatch. This is the South African Rally Championship. In this edition of the NRC, we take you back a few weeks to the drama that unfolded in the forests of a very wet Mpumalanga, before we bring you all the action from the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally. But let's cast our minds back a few weeks to the middle of April, when SA's finest drivers and co-drivers descended upon the beautiful town of Sabi in Mpumalanga for the very popular Sasol Rally. To add to the usual hype around the Sasol, Ford WRC star Matthew Wilson accepted an invitation to join the ranks and display his driving skills on South African soil for the very first time. Wilson must have felt at home with the Mpumalanga weather turning very British just before the start. Drivers and co-drivers had their hands full to steer their four-wheel drive S2000 rally machines through the thick fog that covered the Lowveld and the York timber plantations. And when they emerged from the forests, it was indeed Matthew Wilson who led the way in front of his once-off teammate and South African champion, Mark Cronje. Castrol Toyota's Leroy Poulter assumed third position after day one, following a number of setbacks for the Volkswagen Sasol racing team, which included a few punctures and even more drama for the Toyotas of Johnny Gemmell and Geniel de Villiers. The weather turned even more nasty on day two as the heavens opened. It was now a matter of survival as the crews battled to stay on what was left of the roads. Volkswagen's young gun Henk Latergan did well to survive and reached the Nelspruit finish in a fine fourth position, while Leroy Poulter gave the new Castrol Toyota Yaris his first podium finish with a third place finish. But all eyes were on the duel between Ford teammates Matthew Wilson and Mark Cronje. Wilson had a comfortable lead going into day two, but the windscreen inside his Ford Fiesta decided to mist up in the wet conditions, forcing the Brit to surrender the victory to his teammate Mark Cronje, who clinched his second victory in as many events. Two wins from two rallies sees Mark Cronje on a full score of 50 points, a full 12 points ahead of a consistent Leroy Poulter. Veteran driver Jan Habich lurks in third, just 1 point back, while only 2 points separate JP Damso and Gugu Zulu in fourth and fifth respectively. Gemmell and Latergan are tied, while Van Niekerk, de Villiers and Hergenvecken round off the top 10. But this is only after 2 rounds of the 8-round championship, and all the protagonists now have another chance to influence the championship standings. This is the very popular Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally, the rally that literally brings the action and drama that rallying provides right to the doorsteps of millions of Gauteng residents.
Look, it's a fantastic opportunity for Toyota. This is our new warehouse, so obviously we want to involve our staff and get the excitement of racing to the broader public, and then obviously the Gauteng Rally is a really important rally for us.
Each of the two-day event will start at the multi-million rand and state-of-the-art Toyota Parts Distribution Centre in Boksburg. But the stages will be contested on the Milliefield dirt roads in the Bupsfontein area on the East Rand. Each day will end at the dedicated rally style facility, where a super special stage will provide world-class entertainment for the thousands of fans. The teams will cover a total of 320 kilometres over the weekend, with more than 180 of those against the stopwatch. And these are the guys that will have to do it all for sponsors Toyota on their home event. Johnny Gebel and Leroy Poulter will have to block their wickets and defend home turf here in Gauteng. But the new Castrol Toyota Yaris is now also more competitive, exactly what they'll need.
We've done some improvements to the car from the last event and feels a bit better, so we'll be giving it horns, trying to get in front of that Ford this weekend.
No, look, obviously the pressure's always on, being a home event, we'd like to, be on the podium, and obviously the top spot is important for us. But, it is still a new car and it's only a third race.
Toyota will have additional support in the form of former Dakar Rally winner Geniel de Villiers.
I think we have to try. I mean, it's like you said, the Toyota dealer rally, and we've done a lot of work with the car since Nelspruit.
And these are their arch rivals, not only on the rally stages of South Africa, but also in the marketplace. And never underestimate the abilities of the mighty Volkswagen Sasol racing squad. Both Enzo Kuhn and Hergen Vecken have had to endure more than their fair share of bad luck lately, but both are former champions and will now want to turn their luck around.
Yeah, with a strong team, the cars have come a long way. And I think we're very positive for the weekend. We had a good test before the rally and we're going to push hard to get a result on the board.
We had a very good test session 2 weeks ago in a regional rally and the car went quite well. So looking really forward to this, see where we can end.
Vecken and Kuhn will be ably assisted by 19-year-old Henk Lateghan, who's rapidly climbing the ranks and gaining experience by the minute. From just 19 years of age to someone with more than 3 decades of top-flight rallying behind him, veteran driver Jan Habig will want to add another victory to his long list of rally successes.
This event is a little bit more difficult than what everyone thinks. It looks like the roads are quite smooth, but there's quite a lot of rocks and stuff hidden on the sides.
But this is the man everyone will want to catch. Marc Cronje is not only the defending champion, but with 2 victories already under his belt this season, is also the man on form.
It's been a fantastic run up to now, but obviously rallying, as you know, have their challenges. But they've been trying to catch me for a while, so let's see if they're able to do that.
So, these are the guys who will most likely challenge for victory. But don't discount the equally intense battle for Super 2000 Challenge class honours. Team Total's Jean-Pierre Damso is currently leading this pack, but only just ahead of Gugu Zulu in his Sasol Volkswagen. Damso will receive great support from an ever-improving Mohamed Musa, while Japie van Niekerk definitely has the speed to snatch victory. This class is also a training ground for future stars who have now stepped up to top-flight rallying. Expect to see good performances from local lad Nick van der Westhuizen, as well as Namibian Wilro Dippenaar and the Eastern Cape entry of Morne Janse van Rensburg. And finally, the moment that rally fans were waiting for. The start of the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally in front of an appreciative crowd at the Automotive Giants Parts Distribution Centre in Boksburg. This is the first stage of the 2013 Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally. M&T has become infamous after causing nearly the entire field to pick up punctures last season, so the crews will be well aware that the rally can be won or lost on the 27 kilometres that make up M&T.
This is the team that had to venture into the unknown from first on the road. The Volkswagen Sasol Racing Polo of Enzo Kuhn and Douglas Judd. Kuhn was one of the many drivers who lost time due to punctured tyres in 2012, so the former champion was relieved to reach the end in a time of 18 minutes and 49 seconds.
Well, no punching there, a lot of rocks, so I think we did well.
Jan Habig and Robert Paisley were one of the very few teams who survived this stage during 2012, so the Basil Reed Ford driver knew the importance of getting through unscathed. Habig crossed the finish in a time of 18 minutes and 35 seconds, a full 14 seconds faster than Kuhn.
It was quite a good
the temperature was very hot. I don't know why the car is running quite well. So you can look at that. Maybe it's got some grass in the radiator.
A Class S2000 Challenge points leaders JP Damsu and co-driver Hilton Alfrey were next. The team total Toyota driver had been consistent so far in 2013, but his luck was about to change. A time of 19 minutes and 12 seconds was slow, so clearly the Cape Townian had a problem.
I've got something more, a bigger problem than that. Yeah, something serious wrong with the car.
The pressure to perform on their home event meant that Leroy Poulter and Alvin Kutsia had no option. They had to push from the get-go, but the line between driving on the edge and over is a fine one. And that's impact. Suspensions and dreams of victory all crushed by one of the rally's many rocks. With Poulter running into early trouble, host Toyota's dreams and aspirations were now resting on the shoulders of Johnny Gemmell and Carolyn Swan. Gemmell is a tough competitor who also knows these roads. 18 minutes and 18 seconds, nearly 18 seconds faster than anyone else so far.
Yeah, I felt alright, still quite a few rocks around. I bumped a couple, but we got away with it.
Former champions Hergen Ficken and Pierre Aris were very eager to get their season back on track. The Volkswagen Sassel racing duo did not have luck on their side recently, but Ficken was feeling confident before the rally started, and it showed. 18 minutes and 24 seconds, just 6 slower than Gemmell.
We had a good stage, good clean stage. We tried to keep it really clean, so the speed might not be there, but at least we through the first stage.
But what would championship leaders Mark Ronier and Robin Houghton do? The Ford Racing team has been the class of the field so far in 2013, but Ronier did not look his usual self.
Left side, very rocky. Into.
His time of 18 minutes and 59 seconds was 41 seconds off the pace, proving that something inside the Fiesta was holding him back.
Not so great. We've lost front-wheel drive, so we'll have to get out and see what we can do to get it to the service. So, one of those things, eh?
This is only the second event for Geniel de Villiers and Greg Godrich behind the wheel of their new Imperial Toyota Yaris. De Villiers is now getting to grips with the fast pace of special stage rallying and sets a time of 18 minutes and 36 seconds.
Pretty rough, but we struggled to get into the rhythm, and then I lost a bit of assistance in the power steering. But
19-year-old Henk Lategan and co-driver Barry White has undoubtedly been the find of the season. The youngster has more raw talent than most, and he proved it once again as the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo crossed the flying finish in a time of 18 minutes and 20 seconds, the second fastest time by less than 2 seconds.
Well, such a long stage, there's a lot of work in there. It was tricky.
With JP Damso already in trouble, the door was wide open for the remaining crews to stamp their authority on the S2000 Challenge class. Mohamed Musa and Andre Vermeulen were now behind the wheel of the only remaining team total Toyota and set the 6th fastest time of all to also take the early S2000 Challenge class lead.
It's really hard to get a rhythm in the stage. It's continually changing, fast, slow, and then there's areas where you can go wide and other areas. So I think it was just a case of like keeping to the middle of the road and staying out of trouble.
Namibian Wilrud Dippenaar has to travel a long way to each of the 8 events that make up the South African Rally Championship. But together with co-driver Kes Naidu, the PZN panel beaters and McCarthy Toyota driver was rewarded with the 7th fastest time, just 4 seconds slower than Musa.
I had no problems, but we took it easy. It's much better that way. It's very rocky out there, and don't take any chances. It's still a long rally.
Gugu Zulu's regular co-driver Carl Peskin had to rush home to Cape Town to attend to the birth of his baby girl. Meanwhile, Japie van Niekerk failed to make the start of the event as the engine underneath the bonnet of his Volkswagen Polo expired, leaving co-driver Gerard Snyman to fill the gap inside Zulu's Polo. The new pairing set the 10th fastest time on stage 1.
Without the luxury of a visit to the Dunlop Service Park, the teams had to go straight into Stage 2, another tough 24-kilometre test of dusty dirt roads that wind their way through the mealie fields of the East Rand.
Enzo Kuhn and Douglas Judd had to fulfill the role of road sweepers all day. The Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo set the benchmark time on Stage 2 of 15 minutes and 35 seconds.
We are definitely losing some time at clearing the road and the arrows and the minis, but we're doing a good job of sweeping the road.
Jan Habig is by far the most experienced driver in the field, but the veteran still has a hunger to win. Together with Robert Paisley, the Basil Reed Ford driver went quicker than Kuhn, but only by a single tenth of a second.
Battling a bit, the car's running extremely hot. It's like 120 degrees C, so as soon as it goes over like 90, 95, it just like loses 10% and 20% of the power. So we're like really battling with the temperature.
With both Damso and Poulter removed from the action on Stage 1 already, the third car on the road was the Castrol Toyota Yaris of local hero Johnny Gemmell and Caroline Swan. Gemmell was the leader after Stage 1, but lost a few seconds on Stage 2 as he could only manage a time of 15 minutes and 42 seconds. Behind Gemmell on the road, it was the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo of Hergen Vecken and Pierre Arries who carved its way through the Bobsfontein millies. Vecken seems rejuvenated of late, and it showed as he sets the fastest time of all, 14 minutes and 31 seconds.
We had a good stage. I enjoyed it. The car is going very well, so I must thank my guys. It's perfect.
For once, things were not going the way of defending champion and championship leaders Mark Cronje and Robin Houghton. The Ford Racing Fiesta was still limping with only rear-wheel drive, and although Cronje reached the end of the stage, more than another minute was lost.
We've had the luck of the draw up to now, and this is the first failure we've had in literally like a major failure in 2 years. So the car's performed faultlessly, and yeah, unfortunately that's how this cookie crumbled.
Geniel de Villiers and Greg Godrich now had additional pressure on their shoulders. With Leroy Poulter gone, the Imperial Toyota Yaris of de Villiers had to support Gemmell on Toyota's event, and they did a fine job with the 5th fastest time.
Obviously getting used to the car. It's the first time that we're really driving it in anger, so quite a fast stage here now, so not too bad.
The phrase "another good performance" by 19-year-old Henk Latergan will be heard many times in the future, well, at least until he turns 20. With Barry White in the hot seat, the Volkswagen Sassel Racing driver put in another good performance, albeit around 17 seconds off the pace. Mohamed Musa and Andre Vermeulen are getting closer and closer to the top with every outing. On Stage 2, the team Total Toyota set the 7th fastest time. The team chasing Musa for S2000 Challenge class honours was the PZN panel beaters and McCarthy Toyota of Vilro Dippenaar and Kes Naidu. The Namibian lost around 7 seconds to his rival on Stage 2. Gugu Zulu and stand-in navigator Gerard Snyman were now also getting used to each other as Zulu drove his older generation Volkswagen Racing Polo to the 6th fastest time on the stage.
Very long ride for the Titans.
As someone with high expectations for this event were local lads Nick van der Westhuizen and Stefan Sillier in the SA Earthworks Toyota Auris, who set the 10th fastest time, just ahead of the Toyota of the daughter and father pairing of Stefanie Botha and Willem Ego.
But it's Botha who sneaks into the 10th position on the overall leaderboard after the first 2 stages of the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally behind fellow S2000 Challenge class competitors Gugu Zulu, Vilro Dippenaar and Mohamed Musa. Enzo Kuhn trails Geniel de Villiers in 6th and 5th respectively, while Jan Habig is just 1 second behind the youngster Henk Latergan. At the top, it's Hergen Vecken, who takes over the lead from Toyota's Johnny Gemmell. And finally, a well-deserved break in the Dunlop Service Park. A break for the drivers and their cars, but not for the team technicians who now only have 30 minutes to work their magic and prepare the cars for the hammering they are about to take on the next few stages. Over at the Ford Racing camp of defending champion Marc Grenier, it's frantic as his team attempt to restore his limping Fiesta to four-wheel drive.
Yeah, unfortunately we had to change a box, but the guys are under control and they're doing a good job, so we'll put the pressure back on and see where we can come back from.
Unfortunately for the team total technicians of JP Damso, they have nothing more to do than pack their bags.
We had a bit of a gearbox back up on us really early on in the stage. So yeah, we'll rather call it a day.
And an even bigger blow for Leroy Poulter, who was forced to retire his Castrol Toyota on stage 1.
Unfortunately, I ran a little bit wide on a hairpin corner and clipped, I think, more a boulder than a rock, and I did damage the rear suspension, and we just couldn't carry on from there.
Fortunately for hosts Toyota, they still have the very capable hands of Johnny Gemmell to defend their home turf.
That first stage was quite tricky, lots of rocks and stuff. Little mistake, big problems. Then the second stage, quite sandy and dusty, and I got caught in my dust a bit, lost a little bit.
And what a welcome return to the top of the leaderboard for Hargen Fecken, who now leads the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally.
We took it a bit cautious in the first stage because of the rock, so might have lost 1 or 2 seconds there, and now we pushed quite hard. We took 4th back.
Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally action continues after the break. Will Grenier's team be able to repair his car in time? Will Fecken stay on top? Will Toyota break the sponsor's curse? Or will a third dog run away with a victory bone? It's still day 1 of the popular Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally, and already drama has struck. Hosts Toyota's hopes received a severe blow when Leroy Poulter was forced to retire, while championship leader Marc Grenier finds himself way down the order courtesy of mechanical problems. But it's still early days, and the bulk of the top flight competitors still have plenty of chances to try and stamp their authority on the event. And this is what they will have to face next. The 15-kilometre test of Frick across the road from Rally Star, followed by the jump-strewn 18 kilometres inside the property of Chalma Beef, again with no chance to service the cars in between.
It may have been early days still, but never too early to fight for overall position. Nick van der Westhuizen and Stefan Sillier in their SA Earthworks Toyota were involved in a battle with Stefanie Botha and Father Willem Hugo for a top 10 placing. But they were both relegated to just outside the top 10 after stage 3 because of this man, Marc Grenier. The Ford Racing technicians restored the Fiesta to four-wheel drive, allowing Grenier and Houghton to launch their climb back up the leaderboard.
Yeah, it was good. We had a good clean stage there. It doesn't really flow, so it's not a really nice technical stage, but we had a reasonable stage.
Grenier's next target was the team total Toyota of Mohamed Musa and Andre Vermeulen, but Musa still had around 23 seconds in hand. Musa actually had more than just Grenier to worry about, as a somewhat slow time on stage 3 allowed the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo of Gugu Zulu and Gerard Snyman to slip by. The gap, just 0.3 of a second. Remember, these guys are all fighting the battle for S2000 Challenge class points, a class within the overall championship for slightly older S2000 machines. And while Zulu and Musa were trading blows, the PZN panel beaters and McCarthy Toyota of Vilru Dippenaar and Kes Naido took the lead, but only by 2 seconds. It couldn't have been any closer. Ahead of the S2000 Challenge fight, the overall battle raged between the factory teams. Enzo Kuhn and Douglas Judd started this stage in 6th overall, but only the 8th fastest time meant they lost a little ground to 5th place.
It's still a tough job. It's, along the fields here, it's been graded, and so it's very loose and thick. And if you slide off the line, you get stuck. So we just try to keep it clean.
The 5th position in question still belonged to the Imperial Toyota Yaris of Genil de Villiers and Greg Godrich, who could only manage the 5th fastest time, holding station in the process. fourth belonged to the Basil Reed Ford Fiesta of Jan Habig and Robert Paisley, but that was before stage 3. Habig lost this event on this very stage in 2012 thanks to a flat tyre, but no such trouble this time round as he shoots straight into third position overall.
We managed to find the problem with one of the fans. Temperature's about 10-15 degrees cooler, so that helps a little bit. I can feel that it keeps pulling through most of the stage.
The position gained by Habig meant a position lost by someone else. Henk Lategan, who at 19 years of age still has lots to learn, had no choice but to surrender his current third spot to the veteran as the Volkswagen Sassel racing driver dropped from third to fourth. The gap between first and second, between Hergen Ficken and Johnny Gemmel, was only 4.2 seconds at the start of this stage. So it was gloves off and a full-blown attack from both the Castrol Toyota and Volkswagen Sassel racing teams. Gemmel lives just down the road from these stages, so he knows them well. But Ficken also learned the art of rallying in Gauteng. The result? Ficken wins the stage over Gemmel by a slender 0.6 seconds to extend his overall lead to just 4.8 seconds. It couldn't be any closer. Stage 4 was the last real opportunity of the day to try and influence the overall leaderboard. Stefanie Buerta and Willem Higoed did exactly that by setting the 8th fastest time to crawl back into 10th position overall. Gugu Zulu and Gerard Snyman were right in the middle of the S2000 challenge class fight, but a wrong turn at this bridge early on in stage 4 cost them around a minute and dropped them back into 9th. The 7th fastest time of all by Nick van der Westhuizen and Stefan Solier saw the SA Earthworks Toyota gain a full 3 positions to end this stage in 8th overall. Van der Westhuizen was now just 6 seconds back of rivals Wilru Dippenaar and Kes Naidu, who continued their steady run in the PZN panel beaters and McCarthy Toyota Auris to hold on to a very good 7th place. The men on the move were none other than Mohamed Musa and Andre Vermeulen, who set the 4th fastest time of all on stage 4, good enough to not only shoot straight into the lead of the S2000 challenge class, but also to open up a healthy class lead of around 48 seconds. Ahead of Musa, Enzo Kuhn and Douglas Judd were still doing a good job of sweeping the roads. This stage was also full of jumps, very similar to the one that caused Kuhn to crash earlier in the year. So the Volkswagen Sassel racing driver was happy to emerge from it unscathed.
A lot of jumps in this stage, so it's just about how hard you prepare to hit them. We took them quite cautiously.
Mark Grenier and Robin Houghton were staging a comeback after all the time lost earlier in the day. But their charge came to nothing as they were forced to stop.
Fast, long left, 17, adverse,
It took around 4 minutes to change the wheel before the Ford Racing Fiesta got going again.
We're going to have to change the wheel, we're going to have to change the wheel.
Only problem was that when the champions got going again, they didn't see the fast approaching Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo of youngster Henk Lategan and Barry White. Lategan battled to see through the thick dust and lost nearly a minute in the process, and even worse, dropped another position on the overall standings. Lategan's woes proved to be advantageous for the Imperial Toyota Yaris of Geniel de Villiers and Greg Godrich. The Dakar hero set the 3rd fastest time of all to gain 2 full positions as he shot straight into 3rd overall. The gap between Jan Habig and Robert Paisley in their Basil Reed Ford Fiesta and the Castrol Toyota of Johnny Gemmel and Carolyn Swan was only 12 seconds in favour of Gemmel. But that was before the start of stage 4. Gemmel put the hammer down over the many jumps that made up stage 4 and set the fastest time of all. Habig could only watch as the gap between him and the Toyota of Gemmel increased from 12 to 18 seconds. Unknown to both Gemmel and Habig, their fight would soon be for the overall lead. Former champions Hergen Ficken and Pierre Arries were determined to spray the champagne from the top step of the podium on this event. But unfortunately for them, their Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo had other plans.
We had a very small problem. It's an electrical wire that broke from the alternator to the battery. So it didn't charge, and then the computer stops thinking, and then the engine stops, unfortunately.
The name of Hargen Fecken disappears from the top of the leaderboard following his retirement, leaving Johnny Gemmel to lead his home event. Jan Habich is in hot pursuit, with Geniel de Villiers not too far behind, while Henk Latergan lost time and a position in the dust. Enzo Kuhn is still steady in fifth, ahead of the fierce S2000 Challenge class battle, currently led by Mohamed Musa, ahead of Dippenaar, Van der Westhuizen and Zulu. Stefanie Buerta rounds off the top 10. After spending the day fighting dust in melees, the teams have one more chance to prove their mettle. This is the famous Rally Stars Super Special stage, where two evenly matched cars will face off at the same time over different loops of the 5 kilometres of gravel roads that make up the Super Special. In a close race, the two cars should arrive at the flying finish at the same time. Rallies are seldom won or lost on short, spectacular stages, but the Rally Stars Super Special is different. This is 5 kilometres of intense action, where things can go horribly wrong, and although it's only 5 kilometres, it is more than possible to make up a few valuable seconds on your rivals.
And gain a few seconds is exactly what Wilrud Dippenaar and Kees Naidu did. The BZN panel beaters and McCarthy Toyota beat the similar team total Toyota of Mohamed Musa and Andre Vermeulen by a full 8 seconds. Geniel de Villiers and Greg Godrich started the Super Special with a 5-second advantage over their rivals Henk Latergan and Barry White, so they both had all to play for. But that's a big scare for the Imperial Toyota, who was lucky to remain on all 4 wheels, though the timing equipment got hit, forcing the organisers to stop the race. Latergan was later given a time 4 seconds quicker than de Villiers, reducing the overall gap between them to a slender 1.7 seconds. Next up, the Ford Racing Fiesta of Mark Collier and Robin Houghton versus the Castrol Toyota of Johnny Gemmel and Carolyn Swan. Cronje was way down the order following his early misfortunes, but he's a champion for a reason and managed to beat Gemmel by a close 1.6 seconds, which did little to improve his overall standings. And this is Enzo Kuhn and Douglas Judd in the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo, and Jan Habich and Robert Paisley in the Basil Reed Ford Fiesta. It's Habich that takes the win over Kuhn by just over 2 seconds to complete the day's gravel racing.
Dirt road racing on day one of the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally was indeed now a thing of the past, but the drama was far from over. The name of Johnny Gemmel topped the leaderboard for sponsors Toyota, but the Toyota crew made a mistake by clocking in early, resulting in a full minute penalty. So Johnny Gemmel tumbles down the leaderboard from first to fourth, now a full 39 seconds off the lead he held just minutes ago. Jan Habich is your new leader, while only 1.7 seconds separate Geniel de Villiers and Henk Latergan in second and third respectively. Enzo Kuhn completes the day in fifth, ahead of the S2000 Challenge class battle, currently led by Mohamed Musa. Back in the Dunlop Service Park, Mohamed Musa had a chance to reflect on his class S2000 Challenge lead.
I think it's 100% better than last year where we fell out in stage 1, and a lot better than the Sassel where we had so much problems. So, yeah, I think overall it's not bad, it's actually very good.
Day one of the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally draws to a close, with the dust settling over the Rally Star and Buffsfontein areas. Join us after the break for the conclusion of the action-packed Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally. This is the final day of the 2013 Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally. The sun is out on this warm winter's day on a dry and dusty Highveld, allowing thousands of rally fans to get a glimpse of the action and drama that is about to unfold. Johnny Gemmel drove a superb rally so far to lead the event for sponsors Toyota, but a 1-minute penalty dropped him way down the leaderboard.
We got a minute penalty late yesterday and dropped us down to fourth, so I think we're 40 seconds from the lead, so we'll just give it a go and see how we do.
Behind Gemmel, Enzo Kuhn finds himself in fifth, and the former champion has every aspiration to climb that leaderboard.
Yesterday we spent most of the day in front and also finding our confidence after the big accident earlier the year, which is still in the back of my mind. So it's coming back and we're quite confident that we can go faster today.
At the business side of things, Henk Latergan in third is less than 2 seconds behind Geniel de Villiers, who finds himself in his highest placing since taking up the sport of special stage rallying.
I'm definitely feeling more comfortable with the car and getting used to it more, and you know, for sure the Yaris is getting better day by day. It's only the third event that it's entered in.
And the old master Jan Habig holds all the cards as he goes into the final day with a comfortable advantage of nearly half a minute.
I think for this circumstances, it's quite a nice little buffer. The objective today would be to try and maintain it.
One of the big draw cards of the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally is its close proximity to both Johannesburg and Pretoria. The route is also very compact, as the 5 stages planned for day 2 are exactly the same 5 stages from the day before. For spectators, it means more opportunities to get close to the action, while for the drivers, it means familiar territory, which will allow them to launch a full-blown attack.
In rallying, crews start the second day in the order that they finished on day 1, except that penalties don't come into play. This rule therefore forced Johnny Gemmell and Carolyn Swan, who led the rally before getting a time penalty, to also open the road on day 2. The Castrol Toyota Yaris set the first benchmark time on stage 6 at 17 minutes and 37 seconds.
Yeah, well, what to do? Just gotta push.
The Basil Reed Fiesta of Jan Habig and Robert Paisley started the day with a 28-second advantage over Geniel de Villiers and nearly 40 seconds over Johnny Gemmell. But he could only manage a time of 17 minutes and 41 seconds, so Gemmell had reduced the gap by 4 seconds.
It's got a good stage. We thought that a smooth, just a comfortable stage.
Second position is the best overnight placing for Geniel de Villiers and Greg Godrich ever in the Imperial Toyota Yaris. But a slow time of 18 minutes and 4 seconds left the Dakar Heroes' position vulnerable.
We had a small issue with the gear change. Gear cut seemed not to be working in the second part, so it made it really tricky coming down the hairpin.
This proved to be true as young Henk Latergan and Barry White blitzed through the M&T Stage 6 in a time of 17 minutes and 51 seconds. The Volkswagen Sasol Racing Polo gained a position and moved past de Villiers on the overall leaderboard. Stage 7 at Tweefontein would follow immediately after Stage 6 without the opportunity to visit the Dunlop Service Park, and the action was now getting fast and furious. Johnny Gemmell and Carolyn Swan had launched a full-blown attack behind the wheel of their Castrol Toyota Yaris on the stage before and moved from 4th to 2nd on the overall standings. But on Stage 7, rally leaders Jan Habig and Robert Paisley saw the attack coming and responded. The Basil Reed Fiesta started Stage 7 with a 35-second advantage over the Castrol Toyota. But a time 8 seconds faster than Gemmell meant a comfortable lead of 43 seconds. Habig was well in control.
The previous one was 27 k's, it was only 3 or 4 seconds. I was a bit faster than Yanni, but this one, I don't know, yesterday he was a little bit faster than us, so we'll see now.
Yeah, I saw he was a little bit cocky in the previous stage.
The second battle at this stage was the one for the final podium position between Henk Latergan and Barry White in the Volkswagen Sasol Racing Polo and the Imperial Toyota Yaris of Geniel de Villiers and Greg Godrich. De Villiers already lost a position to the youngster on the stage before, and a time 4 seconds slower than Latergan meant another few valuable seconds lost to the young pretender on Stage 7.
Yesterday we were way too cautious through most of these stages, and I think today we decided to attack a bit more and brake later, and it seems to work.
But while Latergan and de Villiers were involved in their own little fight, they both failed to see the attack from Enzo Kuhn and Douglas Judd. Kuhn had clearly regained his confidence and set a few very competitive stage times to overhaul de Villiers and to move to within 12 seconds of his young Volkswagen Sasol Racing teammate.
Yeah, that was our stage, nice and fast, no jumps to be afraid of.
With a few names in the top half of the leaderboard swapping places, it was now also time for the rest of the field, including the S2000 Challenge class, to jockey for their final positions. Mohamed Musa and Andre Vermeulen started day 2 as the S2000 Challenge class leaders and in a very credible 6th position overall. The Tunin businessman knew that gaining a position could be too risky, so he kept his focus on the guys behind him. The team total Toyota Auris emerged from this loop of stages with his Class S2000 Challenge lead and 6th position overall well intact.
It was better, we had a good stage. The rhythm was there, we didn't make any mistakes, so I'm quite happy.
Musa's nearest challenger was Namibian Vilro Dippenaar and Kes Naidu in the PZN Panel Beaters and McCarthy Toyota Auris. There wasn't much that Dippenaar could do other than consolidate his 7th position overall, which was exactly what he did. The SA Earthworks Toyota Auris of Nick van der Westhuizen and Stefan Sillier started the day 3rd in class and 8th overall. But an altercation with a rock early on brought an end to his challenge, leaving Gugu Zulu and Gerard Snyman to take over his position. Zulu and stand-in co-driver Snyman were now also getting used to each other, as Zulu moved to within 24 seconds of Dippenaar ahead of him.
The temperature of the motor is going too high, so we kind of have to nose it and just basically collect the best points that we can.
And while everyone was fighting for position, defending champions Mark Cronje and Robin Houghton were on the comeback trail, following more than 5 minutes lost on day 1. The Ford Racing Fiesta set the fastest time on both stages 6 and 7 to crawl their way back from an overnight 12th position straight into 9th overall.
We're having clean stages, but it's just not enough stage mileage. So at the moment we're just pushing, see where we're going. I'm enjoying myself, so that's what it's all about.
Stefanie Botha and father Willem Higu still stood their ground amongst the men to cling on to her 10th position overall, behind the wheel of her older generation Toyota Run-X.
Movements all over the leaderboard, with Johnny Gemmel climbing a few spots into 2nd behind Jan Habig, while Geniel de Villiers loses ground to both Henk Lateghan and Enzo Kuhn. Mohamed Musa remains in control of the S2000 Challenge ahead of Dippenaar and Zulu, while Cronje remarkably enters the top 10 ahead of Stefanie Botha. The first visit to the Dunlop Service Park on the final day of the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally means a chance for Mohamed Musa to reflect on his excellent 6th position overall, as well as his lead in the S2000 Challenge class.
Overall, I think it's okay. We should be able to maintain that 6 if we have a clean run. And the challenge, we've extended our lead a little bit this morning, so I think it's looking good.
Dippenaar is currently 2nd in this hotly contested class.
It's not about catching Mohamed, it's more keeping Gugu behind us because he's now 20 seconds behind us.
And what about the first lady driver in a while to occupy a position within the overall top 10 on a national rally?
We had a very good start of the first stage, but halfway through the stage we got a flat tyre and we made the wrong call to keep driving with the flat tyre, and when we got to the end it broke off the brake caliper and everything at the back, so we didn't have any brakes and we could only change the tyre, so we had to drive the second stage without brakes now. It was still lots of fun, of course.
Only a few stages of the 2013 Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally remain. Stages 8 and 9 are the same ones as stages 3 and 4 from the day before, except that this time round they'll determine the outcome of the event. With as many as 16 or 17 S2000 Challenge cars starting each event, a placing in the top 10 of any round of the South African Rally Championship is a remarkable achievement. Unfortunately for both Herken Fecken and Leroy Poulter, a top 10 finish was not on the cards during this year's running of the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally. Both were forced to retire their steeds on day 1. Poulter when he hit a rock on stage 1, and Fecken when he was leading the event in stage 4. But both the Volkswagen Sasol Racing and Castrol Toyota teams decided to re-enter their cars under the Super Rally rules on day 2. It served as a real-life test session, with both Poulter and Fecken dreaming of what could have been. Especially for Fecken, who even won a number of stages on day 2. So disappointment, but it bodes well for the future.
Namibian Vilro Dippenaar's fears of not getting his PZN panel beaters and McCarthy Toyota repaired in time before the last 2 long stages were well founded. The car called it a day within sight of the finish, causing the young driver to take a 5-minute penalty right at the end, relegating him to 10th position overall.
I don't know now. It's crashing into the radiator. It's the whole time fine. It's just this stage. It's very bad.
Marshall, can you just check there's no fire? There's no fire?
Dippenaar's woes turned in Stefanie Botha's favour as the lady driver managed to claim her best ever result in a national rally. 9th overall for the daughter and father team after a character building drive. And what a comeback by defending champion and championship leaders Mark Cronje and Robin Houghton. They dropped as low as 12th after their setbacks from day one, but Cronje once again displayed the pace that made him the dominant force so far in 2013 by crawling all the way up the leaderboard into 8th overall, grabbing with it a few valuable championship points.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy with that. Unfortunately, we're just too far back, but that's how it goes. So we're just pushing to get it through the end.
With Dippenaar out of the S2000 Challenge class equation, the fight for the class victory turned into a two-horse race between Gugu Zulu and Gerard Snyman and Mohamed Musa and Andre Vermeulen. The team total Toyota of Musa had it well under control on day 2, and although Zulu managed to steal a few seconds late in the day, Musa went to the final short super special stage with a comfortable advantage of more than a minute. Geniel de Villiers and Greg Godrich started the day in a fantastic second position overall, but the Imperial Toyota Yaris driver lost his rhythm and lost a few positions, as both the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polos of Enzo Kuhn and Ed Latergan squeezed past him. On the final few stages, de Villiers fought back to reel in the 19-year-old Latergan. The gap after stage 8 was less than a single second, and almost identical times by these two on stage 9 meant a difference of only 0.4 seconds. It was a fantastic scrap between the former Dakar winner and the youngster that is less than half his age. And while de Villiers and Latergan battled it out, there was nothing they could do to stop Enzo Kuhn and Douglas Judd, who rocketed past both of them to move into the final podium position. It was a great drive from the former champion, who seemed to have regained his confidence after his horrific crash earlier in the season. But at the front, all eyes were still on Johnny Gemmel and Carolyn Swan and Jan Habig and Robert Paisley. Gemmel in the Castrol Toyota Yaris was on a charge to try and regain the lead that he had lost at the end of day 1 and managed to climb from 4th to 2nd. But the Basil Reed Ford Fiesta of Jan Habig proved a step too far. Habig, the 6-times national champion, clearly had it all under control and managed his pace perfectly to retain his advantage of around 40 seconds.
Behind the factory and Class S2000 challenge classes, a fierce battle was also raging between the country's up-and-coming rally stars in Class S1600 for front-wheel drive machines with an engine capacity of 1600 cc's. It was the young Namibian Thilo Himmel and co-driver Armand de Toy in their R2 Toyota Etios who claimed their second victory of the season. It's also another good result for the Reef Tankers Citroën C2 of former track racing star Clint Weston and co-driver Christoph Snyders, who claimed second comfortably ahead of class veteran Craig Trott and lady co-driver Janine Lorenz in their aging Team Total Toyota. Just one short challenge remained, the ever-popular Super Special stage at Rally Star, this time with even more spectators to witness the action. It's 4 kilometres, but the same 4 kilometres that could make the difference between winning and losing. If Enzo Kuhn was offered a podium position at the start of the day, he would most definitely have taken it.
The last stage was do or die. We had 5 seconds between us and Janil and 2 between us and Henk, so we really had to push, and the whole stage was full of jumps, so I think I overcame it, so I'm feeling good.
Johnny Gemmel came close, but probably ran out of distance.
Yanni's just, I think, 35 or 40 ahead of us at this stage with just 5 or 6 Ks to do. And Enzo's moved into third just behind us, 20 seconds, so we should finish second just after this one.
So now less than 5 stage kilometres stood between Jan Habig and his first victory in nearly 5 years.
A nice spectator stage. Just keep the flow going, get to the end, and then have a celebration.
Volkswagen's class victory is still up for grabs. So fitting then that Gugu Zulu and Mohamed Musa are also the ones slogging it out on the same piece of dirt road. That's a disaster for Musa, who hits the tyres on the left-hand side of the road. The marshals are quick to turn the Team Total Toyota back on its wheels and do so just in time as Musa still claims the class victory by just 10 seconds from Zulu. Just 0.4 seconds separate the Imperial Toyota of Geniel de Villiers and the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo of Henk Latergan. So whoever wins this duel will get the points for 4th position. It is extremely close, but it is de Villiers who beats his young rival by another 0.4 of a second. 5th for Latergan and 4th for de Villiers. And what a drive, especially on day 2 from Enzo Kuhn and Douglas Judd, who worked their way up the order to clinch a fantastic 3rd place for Volkswagen Sassel Racing. And finally, the duel that will decide the overall war. The battle between Castrol Toyota and Basil Reed Ford. Johnny Gemmell and Caroline Swan, and Jan Habig and Robert Paisley. Gemmell played all his cards on the Super Special, but the gap was simply too big as he had no choice but to settle for 2nd. But what a fine victory for veteran driver and 6 times national champion Jan Habig, who controlled the race beautifully to claim a 45-second win. His first since early 2008.
A well-deserved victory for Jan Habig over Johnny Gemmell, who did sponsors Toyota proud on their home event. Enzo Kuhn got 3rd after a fine drive ahead of de Villiers, who just edged out youngster Latergan by less than a second. Mohamed Musa got 6th and a challenged class win in spite of rolling his car on the last stage, while Marc Ronier got the points for 8th, ahead of a career best finish for Stefanie Buerta. Dippenard rounded off the top 10. Enzo Kuhn said he needed a change of luck, and a podium finish here in Gauteng was exactly what was required.
It's a massive achievement for Volkswagen, obviously a much needed result. It's nice to lift the morale in the team, and you know, they've worked for it. They deserve this win more than I do.
Johnny Gemmell gave it his usual 100%, but the minute penalty on Friday was simply too much to overcome. Still, a fine 2nd spot for Toyota.
We're reasonably happy with 2nd, you know. A little bit disappointed we could have won this one, but with our time penalty yesterday we dropped down to 4th and we caught up to 2nd today and we're pretty happy.
It's been a while, but spraying champagne from the top step of the podium is something that Jan Habig has done on numerous occasions over many decades.
A little bit tough the last 18 months, but you know, the car's always, I could feel that it had the potential. We did manage to find a couple of technical issues on it in the last rebuild, and it's really worked well, and you know, it feels very comfortable. It really does inspire a lot of confidence.
This was the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally. We now move down to the Eastern Cape for the Volkswagen Rally, hosted by the automotive giant in their backyard around Uitenhage and the infamous Longmore Forest. It's already shaping up to be a battle that one cannot afford to miss. So, see you in Port Elizabeth on the 19th and 20th of July. Highlights from the Toyota Gauteng Dealer Rally Round 3 of the 2013 South African Rally Championship was presented by Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford and Sasol.